Welcome to our video on 7 beans that turn hard in storage, though most never check dates. Today, we're diving into an often overlooked kitchen issue that could be lurking in your pantry. While beans are a staple food for many, not all varieties age gracefully over time. Join us as we explore the hidden dangers of long-stored beans, from protein-packed black beans to the essential pinto beans, that could become hard as concrete if left unchecked. Let's find out which beans to watch out for. 1. The silent kitchen menace everyone ignores. Picture this. You're making your grandmother's famous chili recipe, the one that usually turns out perfect every time. You soak the beans overnight like always, simmer them for hours, and yet they remain stubbornly hard as tiny rocks. Sound familiar? Here's the shocking truth: most home cooks never realize beans lose their oil and become so dry they're not able to rehydrate correctly as they age. Most people assume their cooking technique is off, but the real culprit is lurking right in their pantry. Ancient beans that have turned into cooking nightmares. Dried beans are best in year 1, not as good or creamy in year 2, and stiff from then on. Unlike canned goods with clear expiration dates, packages of dried beans today do not come with expiration dates, leaving us completely in the dark about their age. 2. Black beans. The protein powerhouse that ages poorly. Black beans are among the most popular legumes in American kitchens, packed with protein and fiber. However, they're also notorious for becoming cooking disasters when stored too long. If stored longer than 12 months, or exposed to unfavorable storage conditions, beans may never soften sufficiently, no matter how long they're soaked or cooked. Black beans are particularly susceptible to what food scientists call hard-to-cook syndrome. As they age, moisture evaporates, giving pectin time to age and harden the skin. These beans can often take much longer to soften while soaking and cooking, up to twice the time. Think of it like a piece of leather left in the sun. The longer it sits, the tougher it becomes. Many home cooks discover this the hard way when their black bean soup remains disappointingly crunchy despite hours of cooking. 3. Kidney beans. From creamy to concrete, kidney beans present a double challenge. When they age, not only do they become incredibly hard, but they can also develop an unpleasant bitter taste. Depending on storage conditions, they will begin to develop an off or bitter flavor as they deteriorate over time. The main reason for beans that are still hard after cooking is the quality of the beans. Drying beans preserves them for a long time, but not forever. Kidney beans stored in regular packaging typically maintain good quality for only about a year. After that, you might find yourself cooking them for 3 hours only to serve up what feels like eating gravel. The irony is that kidney beans are supposed to be the star of comfort foods like chili and stews, but old ones will ruin these dishes completely. 4. Chickpeas. The Mediterranean favorite gone wrong. Chickpeas, or garbanzo beans, might seem indestructible given their popularity in long-storing pantries worldwide. However, they suffer the same fate as other legumes when aged improperly. Chickpeas may have a longer shelf life than kidney beans due to their lower oil content, but this doesn't make them immune to hardening over time. What makes chickpeas particularly frustrating is that people often buy them in bulk for hummus making or Mediterranean cooking, storing large quantities without realizing they're setting themselves up for failure. Old beans will take longer to cook, and the oldest beans will stay tough and chewy no matter how long, within reason, they simmer. If you find yourself cooking soaked beans for more than 2 hours, and they just will not soften, it may be your beans, not you. When chickpeas turn hard, even pressure cooking won't always save them. 5. Soybeans. The health food that becomes inedible. Soybeans are prized for their complete protein profile and versatility, but they're perhaps the most temperamental when it comes to storage. These beans have a higher oil content than most legumes, which means they can go rancid more quickly if not stored properly. As beans age, they lose moisture and require longer cooking times. Depending on storage conditions, they will begin to develop an off or bitter flavor. Soybeans that have been sitting around for years won't just be hard, they might taste downright awful. This is particularly problematic because soybeans take longer to cook than most beans even when fresh. When they're old, you could literally cook them all day and still end up with something that resembles BB pellets rather than food. Many people have given up on cooking soybeans entirely after one bad experience with ancient ones. 6. Lima beans. The butter bean that lost its creaminess. Lima beans, also known as butter beans, are supposed to live up to their creamy nickname. When fresh, they have a smooth, almost buttery texture that makes them perfect for southern dishes and succotash. However, aged lima beans become the opposite of what they should be. If your beans are too old when you cook them, they won't soften much and will have an unpleasant texture. So while eating dried beans that are a few years old is perfectly safe in most cases, they probably won't taste as good. Lima beans stored beyond their prime develop an almost chalky, gritty texture that no amount of seasoning can mask. The outer shell becomes harder, and the starches inside dry out, which makes them more resistant to water and slower to cook. It's like trying to make mashed potatoes with rocks. The fundamental texture is just wrong. 7. Pinto beans. The cowboy staple that disappoints. Pinto beans are the backbone of Tex-Mex cuisine and classic American comfort food. They're supposed to break down beautifully into creamy, satisfying meals. But when pintos age, they become stubborn little nuggets that refuse to cooperate. The 9-year-old beans have been very challenging to soften. Sadly, we have 5 more buckets from the same time frame, according to one frustrated cook's experience. What's particularly maddening about old pinto beans is that they might partially soften, creating an uneven texture where some beans are mushy while others remain hard as pebbles. During storage, beans may either absorb or lose moisture, which will affect the soaking and cooking time. This makes it nearly impossible to achieve the consistent, creamy texture that pinto beans are famous for in refried beans and chili. 8. Great Northern beans. The white wonder that won't cooperate. Great Northern beans are the elegant cousins of the bean family, prized for their mild flavor and beautiful white color that doesn't muddy up soups and stews. However, when these beans age, they become cooking nightmares that can ruin an entire pot of soup. After 2 to 3 years, the beans will start losing their nutritional value, and most naturally found vitamins will be gone within 5 years. Great Northern beans stored too long develop what cooks describe as an almost concrete-like hardness. They'll absorb water during soaking, appearing to plump up normally, but then refuse to soften during cooking. If you've soaked them for 12-24 hours and they still aren't fully hydrated, the beans are too old and should be thrown away. Many home cooks have spent entire afternoons trying to coax tenderness from ancient Great Northern beans, only to end up with expensive compost.